Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Aurora, and welcome to Twin Flame Journey, a space where we explore the deeper meaning behind soul connections, divine timing, and the path that leads two hearts back to union. If you've been feeling the signs, you're in the right place.
What if the person you feel the deepest connection with in this life is not only meant to love you, but also meant to walk beside you on a mission? Many people dream of finding their perfect partner, someone who understands them, supports them, and shares life's joys and struggles. But in the world of spiritual connections, there is a relationship that goes far beyond ordinary love. A connection so intense, so transformative, that it doesn't simply change two lives, it can ripple outward and influence many others. This is often described as the twin flame union. For some, the idea of twin flames sounds romantic, almost mythical. Two souls split from the same energetic origin, destined to meet again. But those who have walked this path know something deeper. The twin flame journey is rarely easy. It is not just about passion or destiny. It is about growth, awakening, and transformation. And sometimes it is about purpose. Because when two people go through profound inner healing and eventually reunite in union, something extraordinary can happen. Their relationship becomes more than a private love story. It becomes a shared mission.
But why?
Why would the universe bring two powerful souls together only to give them a purpose beyond themselves? To understand this, we have to look at what truly happens during the twin flame journey. Most twin flame connections begin with an undeniable recognition. Many people describe it as a moment where time seems to pause. You meet someone, and suddenly, there is a strange familiarity, an almost unsettling sense that you already know them. It feels magnetic. You may notice how easily conversations flow, how deeply you can see into each other's emotions, how your thoughts, dreams, and life experiences begin to mirror one another in ways that feel almost impossible to explain. But then something unexpected happens. Instead of living happily ever after from the beginning, twin flame relationships often trigger intense emotional storms. Old wounds surface. Fears appear. Ego defenses rise. One person may withdraw. The other may chase. Distance appears. Confusion follows. At first, this can feel heartbreaking. Many people wonder why a connection that feels so profound can also be so painful. But the truth is that twin flames do not meet merely to experience comfort. They meet to awaken each other. Each partner acts as a mirror. Every insecurity, every unhealed childhood wound, every hidden fear suddenly becomes visible through the relationship. The connection pushes both individuals toward inner healing, whether they are ready for it or not. This is why many twin flame journeys include periods of separation. Separation is not always punishment or failure. Sometimes it is necessary space for transformation. During this time, both people are forced to turn inward. They begin confronting parts of themselves they may have avoided for years. Childhood trauma, fear of abandonment, fear of intimacy, the need for validation, the desire for control. Slowly, if they are willing to grow, both individuals start evolving. They learn self-love. They learn emotional independence. They learn how to release ego-driven patterns that once controlled their lives. And this transformation is not small. It can change how a person sees relationships, career, creativity, spirituality, even the meaning of life itself. So when twin flames eventually come back into alignment and enter union, they are no longer the same people who first met. They are stronger, more self-aware, more compassionate, more connected to their deeper truth. And when two people reach this level of inner evolution, something remarkable begins to emerge between them, a sense that their connection is not only about themselves. Have you ever noticed that some couples seem to radiate a certain energy when they are together? Not just happiness, but inspiration. People feel uplifted around them. Conversations become deeper. Ideas start flowing. Creative projects suddenly take shape. It is as if the partnership creates a field of energy that affects everyone around it. This phenomenon is often seen in twin flame unions. when both partners have healed enough to stand in their authentic power. Their combined energy becomes incredibly potent. Instead of draining each other emotionally, they amplify one another's strengths. One person's vision inspires the other's creativity. One person's wisdom supports the other's courage. One person's compassion expands the other's desire to serve others. Together, they create something greater than either one could create alone. And this is where the concept of a shared mission begins to appear. For some twin flame couples, this mission may involve creative expression. They may write books, produce art, create music, or build platforms that inspire people across the world. For others, their mission might be healing-oriented. They may guide others through emotional recovery, spiritual awakening, or personal transformation. Some couples start communities. Others become teachers. Some quietly help people within their local environments, mentoring, supporting, and encouraging those who cross their paths. Interestingly, the mission does not always look dramatic or famous. The world often celebrates grand achievements, massive audiences, global recognition, public influence. But many twin flame missions unfold quietly. Their impact spreads through personal interactions, through the people whose lives they touch. A conversation that changes someone's direction. A message that gives someone hope. A piece of art that helps someone feel understood. Small actions can carry powerful energy when they come from an authentic place of love and purpose. But here is an important question to reflect on. Do twin flames always have a shared mission? Not necessarily. Not every twin flame union results in a public or collective purpose. Sometimes the mission is simply personal transformation. Sometimes it involves raising conscious families, creating healthy relationships that break generational patterns, or living a life that demonstrates emotional maturity and spiritual awareness. However, many people on the twin flame path notice something fascinating. When both individuals reach a certain stage of healing, they begin feeling a natural pull toward contributing to the world, almost as if their personal growth awakens a desire to help others walk similar paths. Have you ever felt that? A moment when your own healing journey made you want to support someone else who is struggling? This impulse often becomes stronger when two awakened individuals stand side by side. Their combined presence acts like a beacon. It attracts people who are searching for answers, encouragement, or inspiration. And slowly, without forcing anything, their relationship evolves into something more meaningful than they initially expected. Love becomes service. Connection becomes collaboration. Partnership becomes purpose. In many ways, this transformation represents one of the most beautiful aspects of the twin flame journey. Because at the beginning, most people believe they're searching for love. But by the time they reach union, they realize something profound. They were not only searching for love, they were also being prepared for something greater. And perhaps this raises one final question worth contemplating. What if the universe does not bring twin flames together simply so they can complete each other? What if it brings them together so they can create something meaningful together? Something that inspires, something that heals, something that reminds others that transformation is possible. If that is true, then twin flame union is not just the end of a romantic story. It is the beginning of a shared journey, one where love becomes a force that reaches far beyond two hearts. When people first hear the phrase twin flame union, many imagine a perfect love story. They imagine two people finally finding each other after years of searching. They imagine passion, harmony, and a relationship that flows effortlessly. In their minds, union means the end of struggle. It means peace, stability, and the comforting feeling that everything has finally fallen into place. But the truth is more complex and far more profound. Twin flame union is not simply about two people falling in love and deciding to stay together. It is not a reward for surviving a difficult relationship. And it is certainly not the fairy tale ending many people expect. In reality, union represents something deeper, a state of alignment. It is the moment when two individuals who once triggered each other's deepest wounds have grown enough to stand beside each other without fear, control, or emotional dependency. But to understand this fully, we need to explore what makes the twin flame connection so different from other relationships. Most relationships begin with attraction. People meet, feel chemistry, share common interests, and slowly build emotional bonds. Over time, trust develops and the relationship grows through shared experiences. Twin flames, however, often begin with something that feels almost overwhelming. From the very beginning, the connection can feel unusually intense. Conversations go deeper than expected. Emotional walls collapse quickly. Both people may feel seen in ways they have never experienced before. At first, this can feel magical. But beneath the magic lies something far more powerful: reflection. Twin flames mirror each other on multiple levels, emotionally, psychologically, and sometimes even spiritually. They reflect not only strengths and dreams, but also fears, insecurities, and unresolved pain. Imagine looking into a mirror that does not only show your appearance, but also your inner world, your childhood wounds, your patterns of self-sabotage, your hidden fears about love, your unconscious beliefs about worthiness. This is what many people experience in a twin flame connection. And this is why the relationship can become so turbulent. Because being seen so clearly is both beautiful and terrifying. When one partner begins to feel overwhelmed by this level of emotional exposure, the natural response is often to pull away. They may feel confused, pressured, or frightened by the intensity of the bond. This is where the well-known dynamic of runner and chaser often appears. One person distances themselves, seeking space or independence. The other person, feeling the powerful bond, may try to hold on to the relationship, hoping to restore the closeness they once shared. This cycle can repeat multiple times. Separation, reconnection, distance again, each phase bringing new lessons. At first, many people believe union simply means the moment when these cycles finally stop. They imagine a future where the runner returns permanently and both partners choose each other without hesitation. But true union is not created by decision alone. It emerges through inner transformation. Both individuals must go through deep personal healing before union becomes stable and sustainable.
Why?
Because the original conflict between twin flames is rarely about external circumstances. It is about internal wounds. If one person fears abandonment, they may cling to the relationship for reassurance. If the other fears losing independence, they may escape whenever things feel too intense. If both carry unresolved trauma, the relationship can become a battlefield of emotional triggers. Union cannot exist in that environment. So the twin flame journey pushes both individuals toward healing. Some people begin therapy. Others explore spirituality, meditation, or self-reflection. Many start examining the patterns that have shaped their relationships throughout life. Gradually, something begins to shift. The chaser learns that love cannot be forced. They begin focusing on self-worth, independence, and personal fulfillment rather than seeking validation from the connection. The runner learns that vulnerability is not weakness. They begin understanding that true intimacy requires emotional openness rather than avoidance. As these transformations occur, the dynamic between them begins to change. Instead of chasing, there is space. Instead of running, there is curiosity. Instead of fear, there is awareness. And slowly, the energetic tension that once defined the relationship begins to dissolve. At this stage, union becomes possible. But what exactly does union look like? Contrary to popular belief, it does not mean constant passion or perfect harmony. Twin flame unions can still experience disagreements, misunderstandings, and challenges. They are still human relationships, shaped by real-life circumstances and personal differences. The difference lies in how those challenges are handled. In a true union, both partners have developed emotional maturity. They communicate openly instead of reacting defensively. They support each other's growth rather than competing or controlling. Most importantly, they no longer rely on the relationship to complete them. This is one of the greatest misconceptions about twin flames. Many people believe their twin flame is their missing half, the person who makes them whole. But true union only happens when both individuals realize something surprising. They were already whole. They did not need another person to fix them, save them, or define their identity. When two whole individuals come together, their relationship becomes something entirely different. Instead of filling emotional voids, they expand each other's lives. Instead of clinging to the relationship out of fear, they choose each other freely. Instead of seeking validation, they offer support. And this shift creates a stable foundation for something much larger than romance. Because when two emotionally evolved individuals unite, their energy begins to flow outward. They inspire creativity. They encourage compassion. They spark ideas and visions that neither person might have discovered alone. This is why many twin flame unions eventually develop a shared purpose or mission. But the mission does not appear immediately. First comes healing, then alignment. Only after both individuals have grown into their authentic selves can they begin exploring what they might create together. Some couples feel drawn toward creative expression, others toward teaching or healing. Some simply feel called to live consciously and inspire others through their example. The form of the mission may vary, but the underlying principle remains the same. Twin flame union is not simply the end of a difficult journey. It is the beginning of a new one. A journey where love becomes a foundation for growth, service, and creative collaboration. And perhaps this leads to an important reflection. What if the purpose of the twin flame journey was never just about finding the right partner? What if it was about becoming the person capable of creating something meaningful alongside them? Because when union finally arrives, it is not the dramatic moment many people imagine. It is quieter than that. Two people recognizing that they have grown. Two individuals choosing each other not out of need, but out of alignment. Two souls realizing that their connection is no longer about healing old wounds. It is about building something new. Something that reflects the transformation they both worked so hard to achieve. And that is where the real story of twin flame union truly begins. At the beginning of the twin flame journey, most people believe they have simply met someone extraordinary. Someone who understands them deeply. Someone who seems to mirror their thoughts and emotions. Someone whose presence creates a sense of familiarity that feels both comforting and mysterious. It often feels like destiny. But as time unfolds, many people begin to realize that the connection is not only about love. It is about awakening. The twin flame connection has a strange way of bringing hidden parts of the self into the light. It reveals emotional wounds that may have been buried for years. It exposes patterns that once seemed invisible. And sometimes, it completely reshapes how a person understands relationships, identity, and purpose. At first, this process can be confusing. Why would a connection that feels so meaningful also bring so much emotional intensity? Why would someone who seems so perfect for you also trigger your deepest fears? The answer lies in the nature of the twin flame bond. Unlike ordinary relationships that grow slowly over time, twin flame connections often act as catalysts for rapid transformation. They accelerate personal growth by reflecting everything that needs healing within each partner. Think of it as a mirror that does not only show your strengths, but also your shadows. When you encounter your twin flame, you may suddenly notice emotional reactions that surprise you. You may feel fears that you did not realize were still present. Old memories from childhood might resurface. Unresolved pain from previous relationships may suddenly feel fresh again. This is not coincidence. It is part of the awakening process. Many spiritual traditions describe awakening as the moment when a person begins to see beyond their conditioned beliefs. They start questioning the patterns they have lived with for years. They become aware of the emotional defenses they once relied upon. The twin flame connection can act as a powerful trigger for this awakening. Before meeting their twin flame, some people describe living life on autopilot. They follow familiar routines, pursue conventional goals, and rarely question the deeper meaning of their experiences. But once the connection appears, everything begins to shift. Emotions become more intense. Self-reflection becomes unavoidable. Questions arise that were never asked before. Why do I react this way to love? Why do I fear abandonment or rejection? Why do certain patterns repeat in my relationships? These questions mark the beginning of inner transformation. And yet, the awakening process is rarely comfortable. For many people, the first stage of awakening feels chaotic. Old beliefs begin to collapse, but new clarity has not yet formed. The person may feel lost, uncertain, or emotionally overwhelmed. This is especially true if the relationship enters a period of separation. Separation between twin flames can be one of the most challenging phases of the journey. When the connection suddenly disappears or becomes distant, it forces both individuals to confront themselves without distraction. Without the presence of the other person, there is nowhere to hide from unresolved emotions. At first, this can feel like heartbreak, but over time, something remarkable begins to happen. The individual who once focused entirely on the relationship begins turning their attention inward. They start asking deeper questions about their life. What do I truly want? What fears have been controlling my choices? What parts of myself have I neglected or ignored? Through this introspection, many people begin exploring personal growth in ways they never imagined before. Some discover meditation or mindfulness practices. Others become interested in psychology, therapy, or emotional healing. Many begin exploring spirituality, not necessarily through organized religion, but through personal reflection on the nature of consciousness, purpose, and inner peace. This stage of the journey is often described as a spiritual awakening. But awakening does not mean becoming perfect or enlightened overnight. Instead, it means becoming aware of one's inner world with honesty and courage. It means recognizing patterns that once operated unconsciously. It means acknowledging pain that was once suppressed. And most importantly, it means beginning the process of healing. Healing, however, is not a quick or simple process. It requires patience. It requires self-compassion. And it often requires confronting uncomfortable truths about the past. For example, someone who fears abandonment might realize that their childhood experiences shaped their expectations of love. Perhaps they learned early in life that affection could disappear suddenly, creating a deep need for reassurance in adult relationships. Another person might recognize a fear of intimacy rooted in past betrayal. They may have learned to protect themselves by avoiding emotional vulnerability. When twin flames meet, these patterns often collide. One partner's fear of abandonment may activate the other's fear of closeness. One seeks reassurance while the other seeks distance. The resulting dynamic creates the familiar cycle of running and chasing. But when awakening begins, both individuals start understanding these patterns more clearly. Instead of blaming the other person for emotional reactions, they begin examining their own internal triggers. Instead of asking, "Why did they hurt me?" they begin asking, "What is this experience teaching me about myself?" This shift in perspective is powerful. It transforms the relationship from a source of suffering into a catalyst for growth. Gradually, as healing progresses, something else begins to emerge. Clarity. The intense emotional turbulence that once defined the connection begins to calm. The person learns how to regulate their emotions, set healthy boundaries, and maintain a sense of identity independent of the relationship. They rediscover parts of themselves that may have been forgotten. Passions return. Creativity awakens. New dreams appear. Interestingly, many people notice that their life direction begins changing during this stage. Careers shift. Friendships evolve. Priorities transform. What once seemed important may lose its appeal, while new interests and values begin guiding decisions. This transformation is not accidental. The awakening process often realigns a person with their authentic self. It encourages them to live more consciously, making choices that reflect their true values rather than social expectations or unconscious habits. And this personal alignment plays a crucial role in the possibility of twin flame union. Because union cannot occur when both individuals are still trapped in old patterns of fear and dependency. It requires growth. It requires awareness. It requires the courage to evolve. By the time both individuals have progressed through significant stages of awakening and healing, they are no longer the same people who first met. They have faced their shadows. They have learned difficult lessons about love, boundaries, and self-worth. They have developed a deeper understanding of themselves and the world around them. And when they eventually reconnect, something profound becomes possible. The relationship is no longer based on emotional reactions or unconscious patterns. It becomes conscious, intentional, aligned. This is the stage where the twin flame connection begins transforming into something greater than personal healing. Because once two awakened individuals reunite, their energy naturally begins expanding outward. They become more aware of the suffering and struggles that other people experience. They feel a natural desire to help, inspire, or support others who may be walking similar paths. In many cases, this marks the beginning of a shared mission. But that mission does not appear fully formed from the start. It grows slowly, shaped by the lessons both individuals have learned during their awakening. Their personal healing becomes the foundation for helping others heal. Their journey becomes a source of wisdom. Their love becomes an example of transformation. And suddenly, the connection that once seemed confusing and painful begins to reveal its deeper purpose. It was never just about two people falling in love. It was about awakening. Awakening to truth. Awakening to growth. Awakening to the possibility that love can be more than an emotion. It can be a force that inspires transformation not only within two hearts, but within the world around them. For much of the twin flame journey, the focus is deeply personal. Each individual is confronted with their own wounds, fears, and patterns. They are pushed into inner reflection, forced to grow in ways they may never have imagined before the connection appeared. The journey often feels solitary, even when both people are aware of each other's existence. Healing childhood trauma, learning emotional independence, facing the ego, developing spiritual awareness. These processes are intensely individual. No one else can do them for you, not even your twin flame. In fact, one of the most difficult lessons on the twin flame path is realizing that love alone cannot heal another person's wounds. Each soul must take responsibility for its own transformation. And yet, something remarkable happens when both individuals have progressed far enough along their separate paths. Their journeys begin to converge. What once felt like two parallel lives slowly starts aligning into a single direction. The growth that happened individually now becomes the foundation for something shared. This is the beginning of what many people describe as alignment before union. Before union can stabilize, both twin flames must reach a stage where their personal evolution naturally complements each other. This does not mean they become identical or lose their individuality. On the contrary, their unique qualities often become even more pronounced. But instead of clashing, those differences begin to harmonize. One person may carry strong intuitive sensitivity, able to understand emotional dynamics with remarkable clarity. The other may possess grounded determination, capable of turning ideas into practical action. One might feel drawn to creativity and expression, while the other feels inspired by leadership and organization. In earlier stages of the relationship, these differences might have created tension or misunderstanding. But after healing and growth, they begin to function like complementary forces. Rather than competing, they cooperate. Rather than pulling in opposite directions, they move forward together. This stage often brings a quiet realization. Both individuals begin noticing that their life experiences, lessons, and personal transformations have prepared them for something larger than themselves. It may not appear immediately as a clear mission. Instead, it starts as subtle signals. Shared interests begin emerging. Conversations become more visionary. Ideas about helping others or contributing to the world appear naturally. It may happen during a simple conversation late at night, when both people begin reflecting on their journeys. They realize how much they have learned about healing, self-awareness, or spiritual growth. And then one question arises. What if our experiences could help someone else? This question marks the beginning of a deeper transformation within the relationship. Because, until this moment, the connection has largely revolved around personal evolution. The challenges, the separations, the lessons, all focused on healing the individuals involved. But once that healing has progressed far enough, the energy of the relationship begins expanding outward. Love becomes more than a private experience. It becomes a creative force. History offers many examples of partnerships where two individuals combine their strengths to create something extraordinary. Artists who inspired each other to produce groundbreaking work. Teachers who built movements that transformed communities. Visionaries who collaborated to bring new ideas into the world. While not all of these partnerships were twin flames, they illustrate a powerful truth. When two people align deeply in purpose and vision, their combined energy can amplify their impact far beyond what either could achieve alone. Twin flame unions often carry this potential because of the profound transformation both individuals undergo during their journey. Their experiences with pain, healing, and awakening give them unique insight into the human condition. They understand struggle on a personal level. They recognize how difficult it can be to break free from old patterns. This understanding naturally generates compassion, and compassion often becomes the seed of purpose. Some twin flame couples feel called to share their stories openly. They speak about emotional healing, spiritual awakening, or personal growth. Through books, videos, workshops, or online communities, they offer guidance to people who feel lost or overwhelmed by similar experiences. Others express their purpose through creative mediums. Art, music, writing, or filmmaking becomes a channel through which they communicate deeper truths about life and transformation. Their work resonates with audiences not only because of its beauty, but because it carries authentic emotional depth. There are also twin flame unions whose mission unfolds quietly in everyday life. They may not seek public attention or build large platforms. Instead, they influence the people around them through presence, kindness, and example. A conversation with a struggling friend. Support for someone facing emotional hardship. Guidance offered to younger generations searching for direction. These moments may seem small, but their impact can ripple outward in ways that are impossible to measure. It is important to understand that a shared mission does not always appear suddenly or dramatically. In many cases, it unfolds gradually. At first, it may simply feel like shared curiosity. Both individuals explore ideas about healing, creativity, or service. They experiment with projects, collaborations, or ways of expressing their experiences. Some attempts succeed, others fail, but each step brings clarity. Through this process, the couple begins discovering what resonates most deeply with their hearts. One of the beautiful aspects of a twin flame mission is that it rarely feels forced. Instead of chasing success or recognition, both individuals feel naturally drawn toward their purpose. The work becomes meaningful in itself, helping someone understand their own emotional journey, creating art that speaks to the human spirit, offering guidance that brings hope to someone who feels lost. These experiences provide a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond personal achievement, and this fulfillment often strengthens the relationship itself. When two people share not only love but also purpose, their bond gains a new dimension. They become partners not only in life, but also in creation. Each challenge they face becomes an opportunity to grow together. Each success becomes something they celebrate as a team. Even difficulties begin to feel meaningful because they are part of a larger journey. Of course, this stage of the twin flame path does not eliminate all struggles. Life remains unpredictable. External circumstances may still present obstacles. Personal growth continues throughout the relationship. But the difference is that both individuals now face these challenges with a sense of unity. They are no longer two people trying to fix each other. They are two individuals walking the same path. And perhaps the most beautiful realization emerges here. At the beginning of the twin flame journey, many people believe they are searching for the person who will complete them. But as the relationship evolves, they discover something unexpected. The purpose was never about completion. It was about collaboration. Two souls who once struggled to understand each other now working together to create something meaningful. Two journeys that once felt separate now forming a shared direction. Two individuals who once triggered each other's wounds now supporting each other's growth. And through this collaboration, something greater begins to take shape. Not only a relationship, not only a love story, but a path where personal transformation becomes the foundation for shared purpose. And once that path appears, the twin flame union enters a new chapter. A chapter where love is no longer only about connection. It becomes about contribution. When twin flames finally reach a place of balance and emotional maturity, something subtle begins to shift within their connection. At first, it may not be obvious. The relationship feels calmer than before. The intense emotional turbulence that once defined the journey begins to fade. Instead of confusion and instability, there is a growing sense of peace. Both individuals feel more grounded in themselves. They no longer seek constant reassurance from the relationship, and they no longer feel the urge to escape from it. They have learned how to stand independently while still remaining deeply connected. This stage is often where true union begins to stabilize. But something else begins to emerge alongside this stability, something that many twin flame couples do not expect: a shared sense of purpose. For a long time, the twin flame journey revolves around healing. Each person must confront their own fears, emotional wounds, and unconscious patterns. The focus is inward, centered on personal transformation. However, once that transformation reaches a certain depth, the direction of the energy begins to change. Instead of constantly looking inward, the relationship starts looking outward. Both individuals begin to ask new questions. What can we create together? How can our experiences help others? Is there something meaningful we are meant to contribute to the world? These questions are not driven by ego or ambition. They arise naturally, almost as if the relationship itself is guiding them towards something larger. Many people who experience twin flame union describe this moment as the birth of a shared mission. But what exactly does that mean? A shared mission does not necessarily mean starting a global movement or becoming famous spiritual teachers. The concept is often misunderstood. Some people imagine that every twin flame couple must have a grand, visible purpose that changes the world in dramatic ways. In reality, the mission can take many forms. For some couples, it may involve creativity. Art, writing, music, film, or storytelling becomes a way to express the insights they gained through their journey. Their work resonates with others because it carries authenticity. It speaks about pain, healing, transformation, and love in ways that feel genuine. For others, the mission may revolve around healing. They may feel drawn toward counseling, coaching, teaching, or guiding others through emotional and spiritual growth. Their own experiences with heartbreak, awakening, and self-discovery allow them to support people facing similar struggles. Some twin flame couples feel called toward community building. They create safe spaces where people can share their stories, explore personal growth, or connect with others on similar paths. These communities often become places of encouragement and mutual support. There are also couples whose mission unfolds in much quieter ways. They may not build public platforms or lead large groups of people. Instead, their influence appears in everyday interactions, supporting friends through difficult moments, offering wisdom during conversations, living with kindness and emotional awareness in ways that inspire those around them. The scale of the mission is less important than its authenticity. What matters is that both individuals feel aligned with what they are doing. And this alignment often feels different from ordinary ambition. Most goals in life are driven by external expectations, career success, financial stability, social recognition. These goals can be valuable, but they're often influenced by cultural norms and personal desires for security or validation. A twin flame mission tends to feel more intrinsic. It arises from the heart rather than external pressure. Instead of asking, How can we succeed? The couple begins asking, how can we contribute? This shift in perspective changes the entire dynamic of the relationship. Instead of focusing solely on their own happiness, both partners become curious about the impact they can have on others. And interestingly, this outward focus often strengthens the bond between them. When two people collaborate on something meaningful, their connection deepens in new ways. They support each other's strengths, learn from each other's perspectives, and celebrate the progress they make together. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of a shared mission is how it often emerges from the lessons of the twin flame journey itself. Think about everything the two individuals have experienced along the way. They have confronted emotional pain. They have navigated separation and uncertainty. They have explored healing, self-awareness, and spiritual growth. Each of these experiences has shaped them into who they are now. So when their mission begins to unfold, it often reflects these very lessons. A couple who learn the importance of emotional healing may feel called to guide others through trauma recovery. A pair of creative souls who found healing through art may begin producing music, books, or films that explore themes of transformation. Two individuals who discovered mindfulness and spiritual practice may feel inspired to teach meditation or share wisdom about conscious living. In this way, their mission becomes a natural extension of their personal journeys. Nothing is forced. Nothing feels artificial. Their purpose grows organically from the experiences that shaped them. Another interesting aspect of twin flame missions is that they often involve inspiration rather than instruction. Instead of telling people what to do, many twin flame couples simply share their stories. They talk about the challenges they faced, the lessons they learned, and the insights they gained along the way. And through these stories, others begin to see possibilities within their own lives. Someone who feels trapped in a painful relationship may find courage to pursue healing. Someone struggling with self-worth may discover a new perspective on personal growth. Someone who feels lost may realize that transformation is possible. This is the quiet power of inspiration. It does not demand change. It invites it. But of course, discovering a shared mission does not mean the journey becomes effortless. Working together can bring new challenges. Differences in communication styles, personal preferences, or creative approaches may still arise. Even in union, both individuals continue evolving, and growth sometimes involves friction. However, the key difference is that these challenges are no longer driven by fear or ego. Instead of triggering old wounds, they become opportunities for collaboration and understanding. Both partners have learned how to communicate honestly. They have developed patience. They have practiced compassion. So when difficulties appear, they approach them as a team rather than as opponents. And this teamwork strengthens not only their mission, but also their relationship. Over time, many twin flame couples begin noticing something remarkable. Their shared purpose brings a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond romantic love. Yes, the connection between them remains deep and meaningful. But there is also a feeling that their relationship is part of something larger, something that extends beyond the boundaries of their personal lives. And perhaps this realization answers a question many people ask about twin flame union. Is the purpose of the connection simply to find love? Or is it to transform love into something that can uplift others? For many twin flame couples, the answer becomes clear through experience. Their love becomes a foundation for creativity. Their healing becomes a source of wisdom. Their partnership becomes a channel for inspiration. And through this process, the twin flame union reveals one of its most profound truths. Love is not only something we receive. At its highest level, love becomes something we share with the world. And when two awakened souls come together with that understanding, their connection begins to shine in ways that reach far beyond themselves. When people speak about love, they often describe it as a feeling, something emotional, intimate, and deeply personal. Love is usually portrayed as a bond between two individuals, something that exists primarily within the private space of a relationship. But in the context of a twin flame union, love can evolve into something far more expansive. It can become a powerful force of creation. This transformation does not happen instantly. It is the result of everything both individuals have experienced throughout their journey, every moment of confusion, every painful separation, every difficult lesson about healing and self-awareness. By the time twin flames reach a stable union, they have already undergone profound inner change. They have learned to face their fears. They have learned to let go of the need to control the relationship. They have learned to stand independently without relying on another person to complete them. And because of this, their connection begins to operate on a completely different level. Instead of draining each other's emotional energy through insecurity or conflict, they begin amplifying each other's strengths. One person's creativity sparks new ideas in the other. One person's courage inspires the other to take meaningful risks. One person's compassion encourages the other to open their heart even further. In this way, their energies begin to align and multiply. Many people describe this experience as feeling like two currents of energy flowing in the same direction. Alone, each current has strength, but when they merge, they create a much more powerful movement. This is the essence of aligned souls. But what exactly does alignment mean? Alignment does not mean that both individuals always think the same way or share identical personalities. In fact, many twin flames have very different temperaments, talents, and perspectives. One might be more analytical, while the other is intuitive. One might prefer structure and planning, while the other thrives in spontaneity and creativity. These differences once created friction during earlier stages of the relationship. When both partners were still healing their wounds, these contrasts could feel threatening or frustrating. However, once emotional maturity develops, those same differences begin to serve a new purpose. They become complementary strengths. Instead of arguing about their perspectives, both individuals start appreciating the balance their differences create. The analytical partner helps ground visionary ideas in practical reality. The intuitive partner helps reveal possibilities that logic alone might overlook. Together, they see the world from a broader perspective. And this expanded awareness often leads to greater creativity. It is not uncommon for twin flame couples in union to experience bursts of inspiration when they collaborate. Conversations can spark ideas that neither person would have imagined alone. One idea leads to another. Thoughts flow freely. Solutions to problems appear unexpectedly. In many ways, this collaborative creativity feels almost effortless. Some couples describe it as entering a flow state together, a mental space where inspiration moves naturally and productivity increases without struggle. This experience is not limited to artistic or creative fields. It can appear in any area where two aligned individuals share a common vision. They might develop projects that help others heal emotionally. They might create educational content that spreads knowledge. They might design businesses that prioritize compassion and human connection. They might simply inspire the people around them through the way they live their lives. What matters is not the specific form their work takes, but the energy behind it. When two people operate from authenticity, empathy, and shared purpose, their actions often carry a deeper resonance. People can feel it. Have you ever met a couple whose presence seemed to uplift everyone around them? There is something difficult to describe about these partnerships. They radiate warmth, openness, and genuine connection. Conversations with them feel meaningful. Their energy seems calm, yet inspiring at the same time. This effect is not accidental. When two individuals have done the inner work required for a healthy union, their emotional balance creates a stable environment for others. Instead of projecting fear or insecurity, they offer understanding. Instead of reacting with judgment, they respond with compassion. Instead of competing for attention, they support each other and those around them. This creates an atmosphere where people feel safe to be authentic. And authenticity has a powerful ripple effect. When someone witnesses a relationship built on honesty, growth, and mutual respect, it challenges their assumptions about what love can be. They begin questioning their own relationship patterns. They start imagining healthier possibilities. They become curious about their own potential for healing and transformation. This is one of the subtle yet profound ways twin flame unions influence the world. They do not always change lives through dramatic actions. Sometimes their greatest impact comes simply from embodying a new way of relating to others. Of course, this influence does not mean twin flame couples become perfect role models. They remain human, with personal struggles and evolving paths. But their willingness to grow together creates an environment where love becomes something dynamic, rather than static. Instead of seeing challenges as threats to the relationship, they view them as opportunities for deeper understanding. Instead of expecting perfection, they practice patience. Instead of avoiding vulnerability, they embrace it. And through these choices, they demonstrate a powerful truth. Healthy love is not about avoiding difficulties. It is about learning how to navigate them together. Over time, this shared growth strengthens not only their relationship but also their mission. Because when two people trust each other deeply, they become more willing to take creative risks. They support each other's dreams. They encourage experimentation and exploration. They celebrate progress rather than fearing failure. This environment allows ideas to flourish. Projects evolve. Purpose becomes clearer. But perhaps the most important transformation occurs within their sense of identity. Earlier in the twin flame journey, many people feel defined by the connection itself. They may see themselves primarily as the runner or the chaser, constantly analyzing the relationship and wondering what it means. In union, that identity shifts. The relationship is no longer a mystery to solve. It becomes a platform for growth and contribution. Both individuals begin seeing themselves not just as partners, but as collaborators in something meaningful. Their focus moves beyond the question of whether they belong together. Instead, they ask a new question. What can we build together? And that question opens endless possibilities. Because when two aligned souls begin creating from a place of love and purpose, their potential is difficult to measure. Their ideas may inspire thousands. Their kindness may transform someone's darkest moment. Their creativity may bring beauty and meaning into the lives of strangers. Even small actions can have far-reaching consequences. A conversation that encourages someone to pursue healing. A message that reminds someone they are not alone. A project that spreads hope to people searching for guidance. Each of these moments becomes part of the greater ripple effect created by aligned souls. And perhaps this is one of the most extraordinary aspects of twin flame union. The connection that once felt overwhelming and confusing eventually reveals its deeper purpose. It was never just about romance. It was about alignment. Alignment with truth. Alignment with growth. Alignment with the possibility that love, when nurtured with awareness and courage, can become a force capable of inspiring transformation far beyond the boundaries of two hearts. For many people walking the twin flame path, one of the most intriguing questions eventually appears. How do you know if your connection is meant for a shared mission? At first, this question may not seem important. In the early stages of the twin flame journey, most individuals are focused on understanding the relationship itself. They are trying to navigate the intense emotions, the cycles of separation and reunion, and the deep inner healing that the connection seems to trigger. During that time, the idea of a larger purpose can feel distant or even irrelevant. But once both individuals begin to grow, heal, and stabilize emotionally, something subtle starts to change. The relationship begins to evolve beyond personal transformation, and small signals start appearing, signals that suggest the connection may be moving towards something greater. These signals are rarely dramatic. They often appear quietly, almost like whispers rather than announcements. And because of this, many people initially overlook them. One of the first signs that a twin flame mission may be emerging is a shared sense of inspiration. Conversations between the two partners begin to shift. Instead of focusing only on personal struggles or relationship dynamics, they start exploring ideas about the world around them. They talk about helping others. They discuss ways to contribute to society. They reflect on how their own experiences might offer insight or encouragement to people facing similar challenges. These conversations do not feel forced. They arise naturally, often during moments of deep connection when both individuals are reflecting on their journeys. It might begin with a simple observation. Everything we went through taught us so much. From there, curiosity grows. What if someone else could learn from this too? And suddenly, a door opens. Another common sign is the appearance of shared creative energy. When twin flames begin collaborating on ideas, projects, or creative expressions, something interesting often happens. Inspiration seems to multiply. A simple conversation can spark multiple new ideas. One person suggests something, and the other expands on it. Thoughts flow quickly, and solutions to problems appear more easily. It can feel almost as if both minds are working as one. This experience is sometimes described as energetic synergy, the feeling that two people working together can generate more creativity and momentum than either one working alone. This does not necessarily mean they must create large or complex projects. The creative energy may appear in small ways at first. Writing reflections about personal growth, recording conversations about healing and spirituality, starting a small community group, sharing insights through art, music, or storytelling. The form does not matter as much as the feeling behind it. If both individuals feel energized, inspired, and aligned while working together, it may be a sign that their connection is naturally moving toward collaborative expression. Another powerful indicator is a shared desire to help others heal. After going through the emotional intensity of the twin flame journey, many individuals develop deep empathy for people who are struggling. They remember what it felt like to experience confusion, heartbreak, or uncertainty. They remember the loneliness that can accompany deep inner transformation. And because of this, they begin feeling drawn to support others who are walking similar paths. Sometimes this desire appears through simple acts of kindness, offering advice, listening to someone's story, or sharing words of encouragement. Other times, it evolves into something more structured. Teaching workshops, creating online content, writing books or articles about emotional healing, developing communities where people can safely share their experiences. The motivation behind these actions is usually not fame or recognition. Instead, it is rooted in compassion. When two people share this compassionate impulse, it can become the foundation for a meaningful shared mission. However, there is another sign that is often overlooked but incredibly important. This sign is alignment in values and vision. For a shared mission to develop successfully, both individuals must feel connected not only emotionally, but also philosophically. They need to share similar perspectives on life. How do they view personal growth? What do they believe about compassion and empathy? What kind of impact do they hope to have on the world? When these values align, collaboration becomes much easier. Both partners naturally support the same direction. They understand each other's motivations. They feel excited about working towards similar goals. But if values differ significantly, creating a shared mission can become challenging. One person may feel called toward service or creative expression, while the other may prefer a quieter, more private life. This does not mean the relationship cannot work. It simply means that the mission may manifest differently for each individual. Another fascinating sign that a twin flame mission is emerging is the appearance of synchronicities. Synchronicities are meaningful coincidences that seem to guide people towards certain experiences or opportunities. For example, a couple might repeatedly encounter conversations about healing, spirituality, or personal growth. They might meet people who encourage them to share their story. Opportunities to collaborate or create something meaningful may appear unexpectedly. These moments can feel almost mysterious. At first, they may seem like random events. But when they begin happening consistently, they often feel like subtle guidance, gentle nudges encouraging the couple to explore their potential impact. Of course, it is important not to become overly dependent on signs or external validation. The most reliable indicator of a shared mission is not synchronicities or dramatic revelations. It is inner resonance. Both individuals feel a deep sense of alignment with what they are doing. The work feels meaningful. Time spent collaborating feels energizing rather than exhausting. Even challenges feel worthwhile because they are connected to something that matters. This inner resonance creates a powerful foundation for growth. However, it is also important to remember that discovering a mission does not happen overnight. Many twin flame couples go through a period of experimentation. They try different projects. They explore different ways of sharing their insights. Some ideas succeed, while others do not. And that is perfectly normal. Purpose often emerges through exploration rather than sudden revelation. Each attempt provides new understanding. Each experience helps clarify what truly resonates with both individuals. Over time, patterns begin to appear. Certain activities feel more natural. Certain messages resonate more strongly with others. Certain forms of expression feel more authentic. Gradually, the couple begins to recognize what their shared mission might look like. And when this clarity arrives, something beautiful happens within the relationship itself. The connection deepens in a new way. It is no longer only about emotional intimacy or personal healing. It becomes a partnership built on shared vision. Both individuals begin looking toward the future not just as lovers, but as collaborators. They support each other's growth. They inspire each other's creativity. They encourage each other to continue evolving. And through this shared journey, they begin realizing something profound. The twin flame connection was never meant to remain confined within the boundaries of two hearts. Its energy naturally expands outward, through inspiration, through creativity, through compassion. And when that expansion begins, the relationship transforms into something far more meaningful than either person originally imagined. It becomes a path where love evolves into purpose. And purpose becomes a gift offered to the world. When people imagine a twin flame union with a shared mission, they often picture something inspiring and harmonious. Two awakened souls working together, supporting each other, and creating something meaningful for the world. It sounds beautiful, and in many ways it truly is. But like every meaningful journey, the path of a shared mission is not without its challenges. Even after both individuals have healed many of their wounds and reached a stage of union, life continues to present obstacles. Growth does not stop simply because two people have found alignment with each other. In fact, sometimes the emergence of a shared purpose introduces new lessons that both partners must learn together. Understanding these challenges is important because many twin flame couples initially expect that once union is achieved, everything will become effortless. In reality, union does not remove difficulties. It changes the way those difficulties are approached. Instead of facing life alone, both individuals now walk the path together. And sometimes, walking together requires learning new forms of patience, communication, and resilience. One of the most common challenges that arises in a shared mission is balancing individuality with collaboration. Earlier in the twin flame journey, both individuals had to learn how to become emotionally independent. They discovered how to stand on their own, develop self-worth, and create lives that were not dependent on the relationship. But when a shared mission begins to form, a new balance must be created. How much time should be dedicated to the mission? How much space should each partner maintain for personal growth and individual pursuits? If both people become too absorbed in the mission, they may begin neglecting their personal needs or the emotional aspects of their relationship. On the other hand, if they focus too heavily on individual paths, the shared vision may lose momentum. Finding harmony between these two forces requires ongoing awareness. Healthy twin flame unions often thrive when both individuals respect each other's individuality, while still nurturing the collaborative energy that connects them. Another challenge that sometimes appears is differences in pace. Even when two people share a similar vision, they may move toward that vision at different speeds. One partner might feel ready to begin a project immediately, excited, motivated, and eager to take action, The other might feel the need for more preparation or reflection before stepping into something new. These differences can create frustration if they are not handled with understanding. The more action-oriented partner may feel impatient, wondering why progress is slower than expected. Meanwhile, the more cautious partner may feel pressured or overwhelmed. But in many cases, these contrasting approaches can actually become strengths if both individuals learn to appreciate them. The partner who moves quickly may bring momentum and enthusiasm. The partner who moves more slowly may bring thoughtfulness and stability. When both perspectives are respected, they can balance each other beautifully. However, achieving that balance requires open communication and mutual respect. Another challenge that often emerges on the path of a shared mission is external pressure. When a couple begins creating something meaningful, whether it is a creative project, a healing platform, or a community initiative, they may attract attention from others. Some people will be inspired by their work. Others may misunderstand it. And some may criticize or question their intentions. This is especially true when the mission involves emotional healing, spirituality, or personal transformation. These topics can be deeply meaningful for some individuals while appearing unfamiliar or unconventional to others. Facing criticism or skepticism can be difficult, especially if one or both partners are sensitive to public opinion. At these moments, the couple must remind themselves why they began their mission in the first place. Was it for validation? Or was it because they felt genuinely called to share something meaningful? Returning to that original intention often helps restore clarity and confidence. Another challenge involves maintaining emotional balance while helping others. Many twin flame missions revolve around healing, guidance, or inspiration. The couple may interact with people who are experiencing pain, confusion, or emotional struggles. Supporting others can be deeply fulfilling, but it can also be emotionally demanding. If boundaries are not maintained, the couple may begin absorbing the emotional weight of the people they are trying to help. Over time, this can lead to exhaustion or compassion fatigue. To avoid this, it is essential for both partners to practice self-care and maintain healthy boundaries. They must remember that their role is not to solve every problem or rescue every person who crosses their path. Instead, their role is often simply to offer guidance, encouragement, or inspiration, allowing others to walk their own healing journeys. One of the most subtle challenges on the twin flame mission path is ego returning in new forms. Earlier in the twin flame journey, much of the ego work revolves around emotional triggers within the relationship itself: fear of abandonment, fear of intimacy, or the desire for control. But when a shared mission begins to succeed or gain attention, ego can reappear in different ways. One partner may begin seeking recognition or approval from others. Another may become overly attached to the success of the mission. Both individuals might feel pressure to maintain a certain image or reputation. These dynamics can slowly shift the focus away from the original purpose of the mission. Instead of sharing love, creativity, or healing, the couple may begin chasing external validation. Recognizing these patterns early is essential. Healthy twin flame partnerships often maintain humility and self-awareness as guiding principles. They remind each other that the mission exists not for personal glory, but for genuine contribution. When ego begins to creep in, honest conversations can help restore balance. Despite all these challenges, there is something incredibly powerful about facing them together. Earlier in the twin flame journey, difficulties often created separation. Fear led to distance. Misunderstandings triggered emotional withdrawal. But in union, challenges become opportunities for deeper collaboration. Each obstacle becomes a chance to practice communication, patience, and empathy. Each disagreement becomes an invitation to grow. And each success becomes something to celebrate together. Over time, these experiences strengthen the bond between the two individuals. They develop trust not only in their love, but also in their ability to navigate life's complexities side by side. This trust is what allows their mission to continue evolving, because a shared purpose is not something fixed or static. It grows. It adapts. It changes as both individuals continue learning and transforming. And perhaps that is one of the most important lessons on the path of a twin flame mission. The goal is not perfection. The goal is conscious partnership. Two people choosing, again and again, to support each other's growth. Two individuals learning how to transform challenges into opportunities for deeper connection. Two souls discovering that the true power of their union does not come from avoiding difficulties, but from walking through them together with awareness, compassion, and love. And when a partnership reaches that level of resilience, the mission they share becomes stronger than any obstacle that may appear along the way. When people think about changing the world, they often imagine large movements, famous leaders, or groundbreaking discoveries. The idea of influence is usually associated with scale, millions of followers, global recognition, or dramatic social change. But transformation does not always begin with grand gestures. Sometimes it begins quietly. Sometimes it begins with two people who have learned how to love consciously. This is one of the most fascinating aspects of a twin flame union with a shared mission. The impact of their connection often spreads outward in ways that are subtle but powerful. Their influence is not always measured by numbers or public attention. Instead, it appears through the lives they touch, the conversations they inspire, and the example they set for others. In many ways, the true power of a shared mission lies in the ripple effect. Imagine dropping a small stone into a still lake. At the moment of impact, the disturbance seems small and localized. But as the ripples spread outward, they travel far beyond the original point. Human influence works in a similar way. When two people live with authenticity, emotional awareness, and compassion, the energy of their relationship naturally affects those around them. Friends notice the difference. Family members observe the dynamic. Strangers feel the warmth of their presence. People often find themselves drawn to couples who embody a healthy and conscious partnership. Not because they are perfect, but because their relationship demonstrates something rare: mutual growth, genuine respect, and emotional honesty. This example alone can inspire change. Someone who has only experienced conflict in relationships might begin to wonder if a healthier dynamic is possible. Someone who feels trapped in patterns of emotional pain might start questioning whether healing could lead to a different kind of love. And these questions are the beginning of transformation. But the ripple effect extends even further when twin flame couples actively share their experiences. Many people walking the twin flame path have gone through deep emotional and spiritual journeys. They have confronted fears, healed past wounds, and discovered new perspectives on love and personal growth. These insights often become valuable resources for others. When couples share their stories, through conversations, creative projects, or community initiatives, they offer something incredibly powerful: hope grounded in experience. It is one thing to hear abstract advice about healing or self-improvement. It is another thing entirely to hear someone say, "I went through this too, and here is what helped me grow." Authenticity resonates in ways that theory alone cannot. For example, imagine someone who is experiencing the pain of a difficult relationship. They feel confused, uncertain about their worth, and unsure how to move forward. Then they encounter a story about a couple who once faced similar challenges, but eventually found healing and alignment. Suddenly, the person realizes that transformation is possible. That realization can change everything. Hope opens the door to action. Action leads to growth. And growth gradually reshapes a life. In this way, the influence of a twin flame mission often spreads through storytelling and shared experience. But the impact does not stop with emotional healing. Many twin flame partnerships also inspire creative and cultural change. Throughout history, creative collaborations have produced some of humanity's most meaningful works of art, literature, and philosophy. When two individuals share a deep emotional bond and a shared vision, their creative energy often becomes amplified. They challenge each other's perspectives. They expand each other's ideas. They inspire each other to explore deeper levels of expression. As a result, The work they create often carries emotional depth that resonates with audiences. A song written by two aligned souls may carry a sense of authenticity that listeners can feel immediately. A book created through shared reflection may speak directly to the struggles of readers searching for meaning. A film, painting, or project developed through collaborative inspiration may open new conversations about healing, connection, and human potential. These creative expressions can influence culture in subtle yet profound ways. They shape how people think about relationships. They challenge outdated beliefs about love and emotional vulnerability. They introduce new narratives about growth, compassion, and conscious living. And through these narratives, society slowly evolves. But perhaps the most important way a twin flame mission transforms the world is through the example of conscious partnership. In many societies, relationships are often shaped by unconscious patterns. Fear of abandonment, fear of vulnerability, power struggles, emotional dependency. These patterns create cycles of conflict and misunderstanding that can repeat across generations. When people witness a relationship built on awareness, communication, and mutual growth, it challenges these old patterns. It shows that love does not have to be defined by control, jealousy, or emotional instability. Instead, love can be a space for evolution. A space where both individuals support each other's dreams. A space where honesty replaces defensiveness. A space where challenges are faced together rather than avoided. This example can be incredibly powerful for younger generations. Children who grow up observing emotionally healthy relationships develop different expectations for their own lives. They learn that communication matters. They learn that vulnerability is not weakness. They learn that love and growth can coexist. In this way, the influence of a twin flame mission may extend far beyond the couple themselves. It may shape families, communities, future generations, all through the simple yet profound act of demonstrating a healthier way of relating to others. However, it is important to remember that this transformation rarely happens overnight. Ripple effects take time. Influence spreads gradually. Often, the couple themselves may not even realize the full impact of their actions. A kind conversation today might inspire someone to pursue healing months later. A piece of creative work might reach someone at exactly the moment they need encouragement. A small community initiative might eventually grow into something much larger. These outcomes are rarely predictable, and that unpredictability is part of the beauty of it. Because when actions are guided by authenticity and compassion, their effects often travel further than anyone expects. This perspective also helps twin flame couples remain grounded in humility. Their mission is not about saving the world or claiming special importance. It is about contributing what they can in ways that feel genuine and meaningful. Sometimes that contribution will be large and visible. Other times it will be quiet and personal. Both forms are valuable. Both create ripples. And both remind us of something essential about the nature of human connection. Transformation does not always begin with massive change. Sometimes it begins with two people who choose to grow. Two people who learn how to love consciously. Two people who discover that their partnership can become a source of inspiration not only for each other, but for the world around them. And from that small beginning, the ripples of change continue spreading outward, touching lives in ways that may never be fully seen, yet are deeply felt. Viết chi tiết chương 10 bằng tiếng Anh, viết dài hơn khoảng 1.000 từ. Chapter 10, Union as a Living Mission. There is a moment on the twin flame journey that many people imagine as the final destination. A peaceful moment. A romantic moment. The moment when the long cycle of separation, healing, confusion, and transformation finally settles into something stable. Many call this moment union. But what most people misunderstand is this. Union is not the end of the journey. In many ways, it is the true beginning. For years, sometimes decades, two souls move through different stages of awakening. They heal childhood wounds. They confront their ego patterns. They release attachments and illusions. They learn to love themselves without needing external validation. And through that process, something remarkable happens. They become whole. When that wholeness is reached within each individual, the connection between them changes. It no longer feels chaotic. It no longer feels like chasing or running. Instead, it becomes calm, clear, and purposeful. And this is where a deeper truth about twin flame union begins to reveal itself. Because union is not simply about two people finally being together. It is about two awakened individuals realizing they were always meant to create something larger than themselves. The shift from personal love to collective purpose. At the beginning of the twin flame journey, the connection feels intensely personal. The emotions are overwhelming. The attraction is magnetic. The longing feels almost unbearable. People often ask themselves, why does this person affect me so deeply? Why can't I move on? Why does this connection feel so different from any other relationship I've ever had? The reason is that twin flame connections are not designed solely for romance. They are designed for awakening. And awakening always leads to expansion. When two twin flames reach union, the focus gradually shifts from how can we be happy together to a more profound question, what are we here to create together? Because the love between twin flames is not meant to stay contained within the relationship. It naturally begins to overflow. Overflow into creativity. Overflow into compassion. Overflow into service. And that overflow often becomes the shared mission of the twin flame union. Why many twin flames share a mission? Throughout history, many people have noticed that certain partnerships seem to carry a deeper purpose. Some couples inspire millions. Some build movements. Some create art that changes the way people see the world. Others quietly help individuals heal, grow, and awaken. When we look closely at these partnerships, a common pattern appears. Their connection fuels something meaningful beyond themselves. Twin flames often share this dynamic because their journey forces them to develop powerful inner qualities. Deep emotional awareness, compassion for human suffering, the courage to face shadow and trauma, the desire to help others grow. These qualities do not develop by accident. They develop because the twin flame journey demands it. The intense mirror dynamic between twin flames exposes wounds that many people spend a lifetime avoiding. Childhood pain, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. When these wounds are healed, the person who emerges is very different from the one who began the journey. And when two people complete that transformation, their combined energy becomes extremely powerful. Not in a mystical fantasy sense, but in a very real human way. They understand pain. They understand healing. And they understand the path from one to the other, which makes them natural guides, creators, and inspirers. The many forms of a twin flame mission. One of the biggest misconceptions about twin flame missions is that they must be dramatic or global. People sometimes imagine that every twin flame couple must become famous spiritual teachers or world-changing leaders. But the truth is far more beautiful than that. A shared mission can take many forms. For some twin flames, their mission might involve creative expression. They might write books that help people understand their emotions. They might produce films that explore themes of awakening and transformation. They might create music that touches something deep in the human soul. For others, their mission might involve healing work. They might become therapists, coaches, or energy healers. They might help individuals process trauma, release emotional pain, and reconnect with their inner truth. Some twin flames work together to build communities. They create safe spaces where people can share their stories, learn from one another, and feel less alone in their struggles. Others focus on service and compassion. They start charitable projects. They support vulnerable communities. They bring kindness and dignity to people who feel forgotten. And some twin flames live very quiet lives. They raise children with emotional awareness. They create loving homes. They model healthy communication, empathy, and respect. Even this can be a powerful mission, Because every healed family breaks generational cycles of pain. A story of shared purpose. Imagine a woman named Maya. For most of her life, Maya struggled with anxiety and self-doubt. She grew up in an environment where emotions were dismissed and vulnerability was seen as weakness. When she met her twin flame, Daniel, their connection felt electrifying. But it was also deeply triggering. Daniel mirrored Maya's fear of abandonment. Maya mirrored Daniel's fear of emotional intimacy. Their relationship went through years of separation, healing, and personal growth. During that time, Maya began studying trauma healing. She learned about the inner child. She discovered meditation and emotional awareness. Daniel, on the other hand, began exploring creative expression. He started writing about his experiences with vulnerability and self-discovery. Years later, when they reconnected, something had changed. The tension that once defined their relationship had dissolved. They no longer needed each other to feel complete, but they chose each other from a place of wholeness. And from that place, an idea emerged. Maya began hosting small healing circles. Daniel began sharing stories about emotional growth. Together, they created workshops that helped people reconnect with themselves. Their mission wasn't planned. It simply unfolded from the journey they had already lived. Their pain had become wisdom, and their wisdom became something that could help others. The real power of union. The true power of twin flame union is not the intensity of the love. It is the stability of the love. It is a love that no longer needs drama to feel alive. It is a love that does not depend on constant validation. It is a love that is strong enough to focus on something beyond itself. When two people reach that level of emotional maturity, their relationship becomes a foundation. And from that foundation, they can build something meaningful together. The question every twin flame eventually faces. At some point, every twin flame couple who reaches union begins to feel an inner question forming. A quiet but persistent question.
Not from the ego,
but from the soul. The question is simple. How can we use our journey to help others? For some couples, the answer becomes clear quickly. For others, it unfolds slowly over time. But the important truth is this. There is no single correct mission. Your mission might involve creativity. It might involve healing. It might involve teaching. It might involve simply living a life that demonstrates what healthy love truly looks like. The mission is not about impressing the world. It is about expressing the truth of who you have become. Union as a contribution to humanity. When we look at the world today, it is easy to see how many people feel lost. Relationships often revolve around dependency, fear, or control. Many people have never witnessed what emotionally healthy love actually looks like. This is where healed twin flame unions can play a quiet but powerful role. By embodying emotional awareness, compassion, and authenticity, they become living examples of what love can be. Not perfect, not flawless, but conscious. And conscious love has a ripple effect. When people see it, something inside them remembers that it is possible. The final truth about twin flame union. So, if you are on the twin flame journey, it is natural to wonder about union. It is natural to hope for the moment when the separation ends. But the deeper truth is this. Union is not the reward. Union is the platform. It is the moment when two healed individuals can finally stand side by side and ask, what do we want to create together? Because twin flame love was never meant to remain small. It was always meant to expand, to inspire,
to heal,
to remind people that transformation is possible. If you are walking this path, pause for a moment and ask yourself something deeper than whether union will happen. Ask yourself this. If you and your twin flame stood together in complete harmony, what kind of light would you bring into the world? Because the real purpose of this journey might not be the love story. It might be the impact that love creates. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Share your thoughts in the comments. What lessons has your twin flame connection taught you? And what kind of mission do you feel called to create in the world? Your story might inspire someone else who is still searching for meaning on their path.
Thank you for spending this moment with me. If this message resonated with your soul, remember to subscribe and continue this journey with us here on Twin Flame Journey. And always remember, what is meant for your soul will always find its way back to you. Until next time, beautiful soul, trust the journey.